Well, before we take that test drive, I want to talk about a few things that are different between the Curtis controller and the Evnetics controller. And of course, big difference is that the Evnetics controller is liquid cooled, and that's a huge advantage in its ability to deliver power over time. The other difference is that it uses IGBTs versus MOSFETs, and because of that we get a little more of a ripple on the line, and that can have an adverse effect on our DC to DC converter. And so normally we wire up our DC to DC converter like this, where we have a couple of diodes like such that prevent the pack sagging and wanting to pull power out of the capacitors in the DC to DC converter. And we also put a fuse in line there to protect it also. Typically we put a fuse in here also. I didn't draw it there. But to protect from this ripple, this voltage fluctuation, we need to add an inductor. And so that's what we've done here. Here's a sample of one. They're like 35 bucks. Available online. The line coming from our traction pack, and again not shown on this schematic, actually goes through a relay. And the relay is controlled by the ignition. So whenever we turn on the key, the relay closes, sending power through our inductor, through our fuse, and through our diode to our DC to DC converter. And so it's protected with different levels of protection to ensure that we don't have to replace a DC to DC converter. Depending on which one you choose, they're $275 to $675. And so it's cheap insurance for that component. And as you've seen in our other videos, we kind of believe in redundancies and measures to protect the investment in the vehicle and our components. So let's go over to the other board and take a look at the highlights between the Curtis and the Evnetics. Okay, a little recap of the difference between the Curtis controller and the Evnetics controller. And when we're talking about the Curtis, we're talking about the 1231C-8601 unit. And in this case, when we're referring to the Evnetics, we're talking about the Soliton Junior. And so the Curtis controller is air-cooled only. And it uses a heat sink to dissipate that heat to the air. The Evnetics uses both a heat sink and liquid cooling to be able to dissipate the heat. The Curtis is a 500 amp controller, and it can deliver that for 2 minutes. The Evnetics is a 500 amp controller basically, but it can deliver 600 amps for 2 minutes, or approximate. The Curtis can deliver 225 amps for 1 hour. The Evnetics can deliver 500 amps continuous. This is one of the reasons why the Curtis is chosen a lot of times. It's only $1,500. The Evnetics is $2,100. So it's only $600, not a big deal. But by the time you add your liquid cooling, so forth, you're probably $900 more. And so that becomes a factor for some people. And then, of course, Curtis's PV6 pot box, they're $58, $65, something like that. And the Evnetics throttle, which basically uses an automotive throttle position, $165. Much, you know, there's a huge difference in quality between the two items. There's no doubt that you get your money's worth with this. But I wanted to give you this little overview. You know, this part, you know, the PV6 pot box isn't the greatest. I mean, it's the low end. This isn't the greatest necessarily either, but this is definitely a high-end quality made product. And like I said, there's not a huge difference in the price. The couple things that really get my attention and the reason for selecting this as a replacement for this Curtis controller is mainly this right here. The liquid cooling. And that liquid cooling allows for this, which isn't a big deal in normal driving. Even in the mountainous terrain, you know, that we drive in, and at freeway speeds, which the Karmann Ghia sees 90% of its driving is on the interstate. And so we're not pulling 500 amps continuous. We're not pulling 225 continuous. And although there's times we're pulling more than that. The big thing is being able to dissipate that heat and have a controller that is running cooler as just a matter of course than this one was. When you have ambient air temperature that's 116 degrees, the Curtis is at a big disadvantage. This is a huge advantage. And the other is, you know, when you want to go out and play, you may have seen a video with the Karmann Ghia at Laguna Seca. Based on the time that they gave us, we could do about 4 laps, and I had to take it easy with the Curtis controller because Laguna Seca has a couple pretty good little grades in it. Matter of fact, the straightaway is a little bit of a grade. And if I was, you know, I could have been on the floor the whole time just about, except for in the turns. And even the turns, that, you know, I'd be on the brakes and back on the throttle real quick. I had to really do everything kind of a measured way because I didn't want to overheat the Curtis. Because once you do, it goes into a thermal cutback, and then you're limited. And in that situation, it's not going to cool down and you know, give you full power again. So for that type of thing, this 500 amps continuous and the ability to cool itself, the better ability to cool itself, is a huge advantage. And so this had, you know, some things that we really wanted. This is the new setup. We originally went with this because it featured the commuter package, the base package. This is also available with the commuter package, but this showed the base package, which installed is under $20,000. When we add this to it, it put us over that $20,000 threshold. And so that's the difference. And so depending on your driving situation and your vehicle, these are the things that you would be choosing between. Now, we could have taken it a step further and gone with the Soliton 1. It's 1,000 amps continuous. Problem is, well, one, you're not going to be pulling 1,000 amps continuous. You'll be flying, especially in a 2,200-pound car. But then we have to start, thinking about our batteries and our motor. I mean, how much, power can that motor handle? How much heat can it dissipate? And is that really necessary? It's another $1,000. And so for what we're doing and for what we're trying to show the public, it wasn't necessary. And so on that little Impulse 9, would really be pushing things with that type of controller. And I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person, if I got it, I use it. And so, we drove the snot out of the Curtis. And the Avnetics is going to be basically the same. We're not going to notice much of a difference in our normal driving, with the exception of those days when we're, at a racetrack and we're playing around. Karmann Ghia is not a race car. It wasn't set up for that purpose, but we do go and do that on occasion, just for fun. And it's nice to have a vehicle that can do that, and we just don't have to worry about the level of abuse that we had before. So anyway, without any further ado, let's go see how the Avnetic Soliton Jr. does in our 1974 Karmann Ghia. Well, come along, let's go for that test drive. Well, here we are inside the vehicle. There's the GoPro. It's mounted on the side window, basically giving you the passenger eye view of our little test drive. So let's take a look at what else we got going on here. This is our 12-volt gauge. Don't have the EMS setup plugged in yet, but here's our JLD 404. And so what we have is it's showing amps. Key's not on yet, we're not drawing any amps. That's the pack voltage, and that's the amp hour current status. This is a 100 amp hour pack. It means we have 80 usable, and we've used just under 6. So the other thing of note is this light right here. It was originally, when we had the Curtis set up, this was our motor temperature light. If the net gain Impulse 9 reaches the snap switch threshold, this light would come on, let us know if the motor's hot. It now does that, as well as it is connected to the error light. It operates as the error light for the Soliton Jr. So it has a built-in pre-charge setup and contactor. So when we turn on the key, we'll see the volt gauge go up, and we'll see that light come on until it's pre-charged and the contactor closes. And you may hear the contactor close. I don't know if it'll be audible on camera or not, but you'll see the light go off, and that means we're ready to roll then. So here we go, key on. Okay, we hear the contactor close, light went off. Our gauge is up about 14.5 volts, which lets us know that our DC to DC converter is working. We can go over here to the JLD 404. I normally run on the amp setting, and we can see our blowers and fan and pump are all going, and our we're drawing 1 amp hour or 1 amp out of our pack. This is pack amps, not motor amps. And so we'll now switch to the GoPro and go for that drive. Normally take off in second gear. And away we go. Nice and smooth at low speed. Off the throttle. It's a nice thing about the DC setup. We just coast. In this area we do a lot of coasting. We have a lot of varied terrain and it allows for coasting. We don't have traffic to deal with, so I've been coasting all the way around that turn and up to the stop sign here. Then second gear takeoff. A little bit of a rise coming up here. Get to the crown of the hill, off the throttle. I'm going to coast all the way to the stop sign. My speed is basically holding. I'm not losing any speed hardly. I will have to use the brakes to slow down here. This road takes us out to Interstate 5. It's 35. Second gear there. A little bit of the hill here. 55, third gear. Now we're in fourth gear. There's 60 miles per hour. That's all we're going to do. This is a 50 mile an hour zone. By the amps there, we're going up another little grade here, so this is up and down. Back up another little grade. We're holding 60 miles per hour. Now we're going to drop back down a little bit here. Way off and maintain speed. It's in the upper 70s right now. This is mid-morning. Decided to do this a little earlier in the day before it got too hot, so I can run with the windows, partially up, cut down on the noise. Down into third gear here, 40 miles per hour, 35. I like to whip around this corner, but we have somebody in front of us, so we won't be able to do that. The Karmann Ghia handle's very nice. Stays nice and flat. This is Interstate 5. Third gear, 65, 70. And fourth gear. 75. 77 miles per hour right there. I-5, people just come out of the
80 miles an hour right now. So now we're pulling a pretty good little grade right here. I can pull a few less amps, but not to keep this speed. We're backing off traffic here. We're down to about 77. We're heading down to the river, the Sacramento River we're going to cross. Back on the throttle. Rides just like the Curtis did. The difference being hopefully that this thing will be able to handle the temperature's better, means that it's liquid cooled. So here we are at the world famous Sundial Bridge. Maybe able to see the little tip of it on the screen now, almost straight ahead. Wind through the parking lot and head back the other direction. Put my window down now. It's a little warm to have the windows up. So we're just rolling right now in third gear. Nice thing again, at real low throttle, we don't have any of that whine that you had with the Curtis. back on Highway 44, back to I-5, back to the shop. So we drive this just like any other car. That 10 miles took us, we're at 25.4 amp hours now. Accelerating onto the highway. That's full throttle at the moment. 60, 65, 70, 75. Get off the highway here, so we'll slow down. It's got a little bit better acceleration than the Curtis. I can tell a little bit taller in the gears, a little bit faster. Drop down the third here for the ramp. This is pretty tight. We got some slow-mo in front of us here. We're at 50 on this tight ramp. Not a problem for the Karmann Ghia, but the Subaru is butts in. Slow down, back on the throttle, and we are out accelerating this Subaru. We're back up to 70 right there, and this is a good grade we're pulling. 75, by about 3/4 throttle. Gonna back off now, and we have our heat light come on. Slow flash means that the controller's reached 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm backing off as the hill's tapering off, back off, back off. And the light goes out. Thanks to our liquid cooling, it's able to recoup quickly. We've been pulling a pretty good little grade and 3/4 plus throttle. Running at 75 miles an hour. does. It's a little bit shorter loop than we normally go. I just wanted to give you a little quick test drive. And let you see what it's like. We're pulling a hill, we're heading back to Shasta Lake now, and it's a grade all the way back now. Real nice. I've always been impressed by this little Karmann Ghia. It's a good little commuter car. This is why we like the DC systems here. Is we do a lot of coasting, a lot of variable throttle based on terrain, and because we don't have much traffic, we don't really have to worry about regulating our speed due to traffic flow, and so the coasting of the DC system really helps on our range and comfort in driving. We're just a mile and a half from the shop, so we've used 43.8 amp hours so far, and we were being pretty aggressive on accelerating on the freeway and stuff, which is not unusual. I drive this just like I drive any other vehicle. I like to drive, I like to accelerate quickly, and this is nice and brisk. It's no slouch. It easily stays with traffic flow, and I can pull away from traffic if need be. The big issue is this afternoon it'll be over 100 degrees, and so I don't drive quite as aggressively in the heat, just to take it easy on my motor and my controller. Because they basically are being cooled by dissipating heat to the ambient air. When it's over 100 degrees, that makes it tough. taking the corners. And back to the shop. So, that's the Evnetic Soliton Jr. in our 1974 Karmann Ghia. Quick little freeway run. And back. Thanks for coming along. And hope you continue to follow our YouTube channel. We've got another episode coming up on our double cab transporter, and so hope you stay with us.